Yo patrons, it's Johannes from Noisebud, and today I'm updating Purr-Static to Alpha 4, and I added a lot of fun stuff. So we're first gonna have a look at it. This is the plugin. So the new stuff is that you can now choose between momentary, short-term, and integrated. So you can use all those. I often use the momentary because that makes sense. The other two they're just most for fun and experimental use. But now I have it. So that's it. And you can now invert the effect so it does the opposite of what you dial it in to do. So if you dial it in to compress things to minus 10 LUFS, like I've set it up in this case, it will, if it says that we need 5 decibels of gain boost to meet the target, then it will take away 5 decibels instead of adding. It's just a stupid expander thing, but it's fun at times. So it's also a bit of experimental, but you can have fun with it. And yeah, I added small changes as that you now can, if you put in a positive value here like 6, it will automatically change that to a negative value. So that's also a change that I made. Oh, let's put it on 10 again. And there's also another thing. You can see that the incoming and the outgoing LUFS reading right now, even though it's silence, we don't play anything, it still gives you some numbers. And that is because I added a thing that feeds the measurement algorithm in the plugin with noise if there's silence. And the reason for this is that if you have a song that have a break in it that goes to complete silence, then the plugin tries to boost the silence to meet the target that you dial in here. And as the audio starts again, it would take a little while before the plugin adapts. So you got a spike in level because it tries to increase boost the signal by a lot to meet the target. And then, oh no, now there's a signal again, and then it starts to work again. So this function is a way to try to prevent that, and it works really well in some cases. But I think I'm gonna add a switch for that function. So you can turn it off, because it's not always what you want. Sometimes you want it to follow the signal perfectly and don't be messed up by some random values that it's fed right now. So if I play a bit of this audio here. Then you can see that it starts to give you more reasonable values. But right now it's silence. And that noise that I feed with changes with the target. So if I set a lower target, it will lower the noise so that it kind of meets. It's not perfectly matched yet. I will probably spend some time matching it better, but it's good enough. So it's actually, yeah, it should feed the signal with what you set, feed the algorithm what you have set the target to, but it doesn't work perfectly yet. But it will. And I added a little LED that shows you when the signal goes below the silence threshold. So it's lit up when the LUFS value is above what you set it, or sorry, below what you set the target to. And that is just LED. The function was there before, but how this works is that if the signal goes below the silence value, then it frees the gain change that you have down here. It will freeze that at the value it's currently at. At first, it went to 0 as soon as you go below the threshold, but that wasn't good because that made the level pop up a lot. And the idea with this plugin is that if you, for example, have a podcast and you want the vocals to be, or the voices to be at, let's say, minus 18 LUFS or about minus 18, then you set this target to minus 18. Then you set how many decibels you will allow the plugin to boost or or attenuate the signal by to meet that target, and then you just use the plugin. That's the intended use of this. So it's a leveler, LUFS based leveler. I don't remember what I was talking about before, but that's what this is. All right, let's have fun with this and listen to it instead. So we're gonna go to this window and we're gonna use a track that I made with a friend, and it's some kind of weird minimalistic techno stuff. And let's measure the loudness of this right now. It says minus 11.6 integrated, so that's what we have to deal with. And you can see that the intro of this song, which is pretty long, is over 2 minutes. It's a very dynamic and almost silent in the beginning, and then we get to a louder part that is that kind of where the kick hits. It starts to hit. There actually is a kick here, but at low level as well. All right, so let's listen to the intro bypass first, and this is how that sounds. It starts out with this kind of crackling thing, and there's a lot of silence in this. This means that it will trigger the algorithm that will feed the plugin with noise. So the reading of the LUFS won't be correct in the beginning of this. So as we go in further, if we go to this part, then it starts to get correct LUFS values. So that's why I wanted to have a little switch so I can turn that function off. In this instance, I probably would. But let's listen to that intro, not the whole intro, that's too long. But let's listen from this part into where it gets a little bit louder here and see what the plugin does if we let it to boost and attenuate by 10 decibels. And we're gonna meet not 18, we're gonna meet the target minus 10. So you can see that it will boost the intro by a lot. Let's go to where it gets a little bit louder here again. Another step of loudness and see what it does with this part. Now you can see that it goes from almost boosting 10 decibels and to about 4 decibels to meet the target that we set to minus 10 LUFS. So if we go to this part where it really starts to get loud and we play this part here. So you can see that it goes from boosting 10, the max boost when it's really quiet here in this section about here, and it goes to almost not it doesn't do much when the music starts, because that's around minus 10 LUFS probably. Let's play that section again. And I'm gonna do that again, but I'm gonna zoom in on the gain change here. Let's do that. Watch the gain change. And you can see that it actually reacts before the audio starts, and that's because I've set a look ahead to 400 milliseconds. I'm not completely happy with the look ahead yet, so I'm gonna continue tweak this a little bit so that it actually have set the level correctly when it starts. So right now I'm using 400 milliseconds, and that's because the momentary value use a 400 milliseconds value. So if you set it to 400, and in principle that would mean that it would have adapted to the new situation when the music starts, but it doesn't work really. It's not that simple. It's a bit more complicated than exact values. So I'm not going to explain that here, but I'm going to work a little bit with it. So that if you set it to 400 milliseconds, that means it should actually work. But that probably means that I would use, even if you set it to 400 milliseconds, the latency it will add will be a bit more. So we'll see how that ends up. All right, so let's render this with these settings. And if this plugin works, that means that we will have, if I set the targets to -10 LUFS, the resulting waveform should be about -10 LUFS integrated. So let's render this. And here we go. Of course, we got a lot of overs. I'm not gonna address those now. I'm using 32-bit floating point, so it's not an issue. But you can see that we are hitting -10.1. So it does a fairly good job. And you can see that this section in the intro, that's not in the integrated, it's not a part of the integrated value. So it has been discarded because it's below the 10 decibel threshold for the loudness gate. So that's why this is a bit gray here in Reaper, and the same goes for the end. It's this little part as a part of the integrated value as well. That's the loudness gate. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, let's show you the new function, is this inverted function. This little button down here, that will invert the effect, as I think I mentioned earlier, but that means that it will increase the dynamic of the track. So if we set this, we will have a lot of overs when we render this, but I'm going to just do it to show you what it does. So this is the complete opposite of the original waveform, and it kind of hits -10.4, so it still hits the target, which is fun. But you can see that the audio is we have increased the dynamics. It's still the same, it's just level changes, and the result is is the same as if you didn't invert it, because it increased the audio in the end to compensate for that. So yeah, okay, this is Purr-Static Alpha 4. It's really fun. I use it a lot while mastering, and not as a compressor, but I use it for if you have a very dynamic track and it's supposed to be pretty silent in parts, and you have a decent level at some parts, and then you have this enormous crescendo where it goes to kind of -4 LUFS, for example. And everything sounds really good, and you probably dial in the main part of the settings with the part of the song that's kind of the average of the intensity of the track, and that may change how that may sound like crap in the most intense part, and it may sound less good in the most silent part as well. But in those loudest parts, then I can use this plugin with settings. Let's go to the cutout so you can see it. Then I set it like this. Let's say that we want that -4 LUFS part to be -6 instead. Then we set this to target -6. We don't allow the plugin to boost the signal by anything. Let's remove the invert also. So if the signal is below -6, it won't do anything. It will just leave the plugin alone and the gain change will be 0. But as it goes above, then you let it maybe attenuate the signal. In this case, if we need to go from -4 to -6, we need 2 decibels. So we can set it to 2, but we can also set it to 10 decibels. It won't take away more than it needs anyway. But I usually set it about so I don't want extreme gain changes, so I probably set it to where I need it to be, maybe -2.2 in this case. And then I just leave it there. It will do, it's like you're automating the level, but you just do it without automation. You do it automatically. And this works really well. And I used it in a lot of masters recently where I just put this on before every other plugin and just handle those sections that I need to attenuate a little bit. And that's it. Works great. Then I can dial in the up and down control, so I slow down the signal if I don't want a lot of quick level changes. If I want to slow them down so you don't hear it working at all, then you can use this and set it to a slower setting. Those goes up to 40 seconds. As you can slow down the compression really, by a lot. But I usually use a couple of seconds. That's fine to just hide your gain change. Well, okay. I need a cup of coffee, so I'm gonna go and grab that. And I hope you download, having fun with this, and I will see you with the next plugin or update or whatever I come up with. Have a good day. Bye bye.